Hi, and welcome to Intuitive Insights. On this channel, we discuss everything to do with the ascension process. We discuss all of the different planetary energies that are at play at any given time and how those are helping to guide us along this awakening journey that we're all sharing together. So today we're going to be talking about Pluto retrograde, which began on the 24th of April and will go until October 3rd, or should we say October 3rd, Pluto will station direct again, and then Pluto will continue to retrace the degrees that it's gone over during the retrograde, coming back to the place where it started at 24 degrees of Capricorn in January 2021. So this is a bit of a lengthy cycle that's upon us right now. And I mean, it was already well underway before Pluto turned retrograde. So we're going to talk about all of that. But first, let's just talk about the energy of Pluto. Let's just sort of feel into that. As you can all see, I am dressed a little bit more darkly, I guess you would say, than usual, a little more dramatic in fashion. I like to really feel into the energy of the planets when I do these videos, and I like to just give ourselves a moment to sink into what the energy of Pluto feels like. What is Pluto? Who is Pluto? And so Pluto, some astrologers believe, actually represents the soul. And I think that this is an interesting theory and one that I share, because if you think about it, think about just Pluto in general. There's always been this debate, is Pluto a planet? Is Pluto not a planet? Some astronomers like to say that it is, and then they decide that it isn't. And doesn't it sort of remind you of the debate that we have over the existence of the soul? Like, does it exist? Does it not exist? So much weight is lost that can't be accounted for from the body after death, and people equate that to like a scientific, proving of the soul. But it's still, which is kind of funny probably to everyone watching this and everyone on this channel, right? That people would debate whether or not we have a soul, but people do debate it. And just as comical, I think, is this debate over whether or not Pluto is a planet. But that's just the nature of Pluto, right? It's very mysterious. Pluto is, Pluto's the god of the underworld. Pluto represents the shadow self, the subconscious. It represents our most primal desires and fears. It represents everything that's mysterious about life, right? The cycles of death and rebirth. It represents like sexuality in its purest form. It represents just power, right? All manifestations of power. And really what it represents at its core is the ultimate evolutionary potential of our soul in this lifetime. Plutonian energy it's not about what's on the surface. It's about digging deep into the underworld of our personality, the underworld of our mind, the underworld of our soul. All of that stuff that's beneath the surface that we may not always acknowledge, right? So we're talking about the shadow self. We're looking deep within ourselves to where our greatest treasures lie, right? Our greatest strengths can be found in that shadow area. But first we have to have the courage to look and see what's under there, right? And so some of us really enjoy this process, right? But I think, for the majority of us, a lot of times, like the stuff that we repress and these deeper desires and fears and, all of this mysterious sort of stuff, like we don't necessarily always want to look at it. And because we don't want to look at those darker aspects of ourselves, we really sell ourselves short because we can't actually access our full power, right? Like we can't utilize and possess our greatest gifts because we're unwilling or unable or afraid to really to go through the process of claiming them and owning them. And so that's what Pluto is all about, and that's what this retrograde cycle is all about. We are actually this retrograde cycle is very interesting because it ties in with a lot of other really profound astrological events that are going on. And so trying to trace back sort of the origins of this cycle was a bit interesting. I mean, I found this definitely ties in a lot with the Saturn and Pluto conjunction of January 12th this year. So that was I mean, you heard everybody talking about this astrological event. I actually did a video, if you look back through the videos on Pluto and Saturn, that talked a lot about the effects of this energy and sort of the way it was this process of completely breaking down society, of breaking down just all these structures and these ways that we've done stuff, and sort of dismantling the power structure of the world, and most definitely of the United States, where I'm making this video from, but of the world in general. And the way that relates to everything that's going on with the coronavirus, and just all of the secrets that are being exposed right now. Pluto is also the planet that holds all the secrets, right? Because it's all that stuff that's buried deep down in there. All the stuff, everything that happens behind closed doors, that is the realm of Pluto. And it's not just like the closed doors as far as like our outside world, but like the closed doors within ourselves. And so Pluto opens up those doors and forces us to look at what's in there. And we come out of that process so much more empowered. But it's a deeply, deeply intense and sometimes a very terrifying process. It's very unsettling. We're presented with these situations and, these situations that call on us to utilize aspects of ourselves, to utilize strengths that we didn't even know that we had. It strips us of everything that we've ever known, everything that we rely on, as far as the ways that we think, the ways that we behave, the things that we hold on to. Sometimes it removes the things that are most dear to us, those things that we believed we could not live without. And through that process of learning that that's actually not true, we become much more empowered, right? And so we see that happening on a large scale in the world right now, as all of these structures that were put in place to protect us and keep us safe are being exposed as not being what we thought they were, and not doing the job that we thought that they would do, right? And so we see this going on in our personal lives as well. And so this cycle was definitely kicked off to a large degree by the conjunction of Pluto and Saturn, which was at 22 degrees of Capricorn. But if we trace this back further, I looked at the last time that Pluto was at 22 degrees of Capricorn, because this is the thing about Pluto, right? It's this intensely powerful energy. It is the planet that represents power, right? And it is the outermost planet. It's the planet that, it's like we said, it's so mysterious. We can't really define it. We can't really fully understand it, just as we can never really fully define or understand ourselves, right? It's this constant process of discovery. And so we are... I'm trying to figure out where I was going with that. Give me a second. Okay, we're talking about where Pluto was, right? And the speed that Pluto moves at. So this is a very subtle process, and it's a process that sort of gains steam and gains momentum, and a lot of it, as we'll see, especially during the retrograde phases, happens underneath the surface, right? And so Pluto will trace back over a certain point in the zodiac multiple times. Like when Pluto has these retrogrades, it doesn't go very far because it moves so slowly. So Pluto's really only tracing over a few degrees, just back and forth, and it's just cleaning and clearing and burning away with each sort of swipe that it makes across these points of the zodiac, right? So Pluto during this retrograde is at the points of 24 to 22 degrees. So just in that range, right? And so I looked back at the last time that Pluto was at 22 degrees of Capricorn, and it actually happened back in March of 2019. So if you want to trace back whatever it is that you're experiencing during this retrograde, you can actually trace that back all the way to March of 2019 and what was happening then. Because we see it's sort of the way that Pluto works and the way that Pluto does things is that we have these periods where Pluto is direct, right? Where we're being confronted with outer forces, right? It's just situations that come out of the blue, relationships, just whatever it is, these situations that we end up in that test our resolve and that test our faith and that cause us to question absolutely everything. Pluto is the planet that represents all of our desires, right? Especially those desires that are sort of taboo or forbidden, right? And so Pluto, during this process where it's beginning this cleansing process of us, right, will often present us with the thing that we want the most and then remove that thing from us. And of course, the turmoil that we're thrown into as a result of that process reveals things about us that we didn't even know existed. Right? And so in the direct period, starting possibly all the way in March of 2019, and definitely very pronounced during the Saturn-Pluto conjunction on January 12th of this year, we may have had these outer circumstances that sort of forced us into this area. It's ego death, right? That's what we're talking about. So into this area where we were suddenly unsure of ourselves, where nothing made sense anymore, where we felt almost as if like fate was coming in and just dealing us these like shattering blows, right? And we didn't know how we were going to get through it. We didn't think that we possessed the abilities to do so, and it brought up all this stuff, right? So whatever is happening in our outer world during these Pluto transits is bringing up all of our deepest fears, our deepest insecurities. It's bringing all of that stuff to light, and our addictions, our obsessions, all of these different things. And so we get thrown into this whirlwind, and then when Pluto goes retrograde, it's sort of taking us back. Now that these things have been triggered, it's this time where all of this, it's sort of, everything is sort of simmering, and it's growing, and we're being taken on this tour of our unconscious, right? We're being taken on this tour of all of these primal needs and desires and fears and anxieties and all of this shadow material, and we're kind of losing ourselves in the process of that. And so it's not so much that things are externally crazy anymore, it's that internally it becomes a very intense process as we're burning away all that is no longer serves us. One of the words that I would choose to describe Pluto the best would be integrity. So Pluto, if we weren't going to use the word power, we would use the word power or soul. We would use the word integrity. So Pluto allows us to stand in our integrity, and Pluto does this by stripping away everything that's not real. And so it's a very unique process for each one of us. It's as unique as we are, right? But we're going to notice during this time obsessions that start to pop up, compulsions that start to pop up. There are going to be people or situations or things that we just can't get out of our minds. And we're going to find ourselves just sort of lost in this longing and this desire. And so what it's doing is allowing us a chance to really get honest with ourselves about what it is that we truly desire and what it is that's holding us back from that. And so the things that we desire can sometimes just be representations as well of other things. Like it might not be a specific job or a specific person or whatever it is that is actually, that may be the object of our desire. But what does that job or that situation or that person represent? And so that's what the true desire is. And so Pluto is going to show us all of that. When we are experiencing heavy Plutonian energy, we're not able to be dishonest anymore. It doesn't work. We cannot lie to ourselves. It's just, Pluto doesn't allow that. Pluto doesn't allow that because that stunts our evolution and that stunts our growth. even those parts of us that are dark, those parts of us that we're ashamed of, those parts that we would prefer to suppress or not acknowledge, exist within us. And if we're really going to grow, we have to see that. That has to be reflected to us. We have to honor that. And we have to find a way to integrate that into our greater selves, right? It's that division within us is what causes us so much turmoil. So we're getting an opportunity to bring those parts of ourselves into our consciousness. We're bringing the unconscious into the conscious and merging the unconscious with the conscious. We're becoming more whole, and we're finding our greatest power and our greatest strengths. So a lot of times our greatest strengths are buried underneath our fears and our anxieties, and we can't grasp them because we're afraid, because we're unwilling or unable to look at the things that are burying them, right? But once we look our demons in the eye, we can overcome them. We realize that we are more powerful than they are, and we gain control over them. We gain full control over ourselves. We gain our full autonomy, right? And so in this process of gaining our autonomy, what we're often presented with is people and situations that take away our power. And so then we get to experience that process of reclaiming it, right? And so, yeah, I mean, as you can see, as you can imagine, I mean, this is heavy stuff that we're talking about. Pluto is not a cute, frilly little planet. Pluto is the essence of everything that's real. Everything, it is the most visceral human experiences in their rawest form. And yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So yeah, we're going to be during the retrograde phase, just having this internal process of sifting through all this kind of stuff, having all of these buried emotions, these buried desires, these buried feelings kind of coming to the surface to be recognized and to be understood. And it's going to show us all the stuff that we weren't ready to see. It's sort of like it's holding up this mirror for us, and it's mirroring back the parts of ourselves that are ready to be healed. And so that's the challenge, is to go into that, is to allow that process to unfold, is to surrender into that process. And as things are stripped away from us, to allow those things to go. That's that process of surrender, right? It's that process of releasing. Like as we're plunged into these situations, whether they be external or internal, where we feel as though we've lost control, the challenge is to allow that loss of control. And, then we will end up probably with something even better than the thing that we were holding on to, right? But it's this stripping away, it's this death process. Like when we are experiencing a Pluto transit, we may become fixated with death as well, with our own mortality, with what that means, and we are in this age where we're thinking about these things, right? But we're also understanding that we are eternal beings. And so like our lifetime in this body, in this incarnation, is limited, but we are energy. We never die. We just continue to transform, and we're in this process of transmutation right now. But yeah, I mean, there are issues of our own mortality come up, having to face that, having to think about that. Sometimes the death of people close to us can be one of the things that starts to trigger this process, one of those external events, right? Near-death experiences of our own, just so many things, all of the things, right? And so then what that triggers inside of us. And so just really listening to what's coming up and allowing what's coming up to come up, and to look at everything that's coming up. And then the very Plutonian thing to do is to look deeper. Like, okay, so this is surfacing, but what's underneath that? And what's underneath that? And what's underneath that? And that's how we get to the core and the essence, which is what Pluto is all about. So yeah, so we have this, Pluto started out at 24 degrees of Capricorn when it stationed retrograde, and Pluto will move, and that happened on the 24th. Pluto will move retrograde until October 3rd, where it will station direct at 22 degrees of Capricorn, which is the same degree that the Saturn-Pluto conjunction happened at in January. And then it will move back to 24 degrees of Capricorn by January 2021. During this retrograde time, we're also going to have the second Jupiter and Pluto conjunction. There's a video on that as well. There's a series of 3 of them throughout this year. We just had the first one on the 444 portal, and we will have the second one when both Jupiter and Pluto are retrograde. And that's going to happen on June 30th. And so this is another thing that's interesting to note, is that first conjunction happened on the 444 portal. And so the video that we have about the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction talks about just this process of integration that we are also in as part of the 444 portal. So it's like whenever there's anything going on, it's not just one thing that's happening. There are multiple things that are happening. So we have this own personal process that we're going through during this Pluto retrograde. The Earth and the global community is going through a collective process. Pluto and the outer planets, which would be, we have Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, are collective planets, right? So they represent the collective consciousness as well. And so they have, in our personal lives, we have this very deep experience, right? When these planets that represent this collective energy, this, this energy that goes beyond our personal lives and just permeates everything. When this energy comes in contact to us, it reshapes us, and it changes us, and it transforms us. But at the same time, it's transforming the world. So we have what's going on with this cycle on the world level. We also have what's going on with this cycle as far as how it's linked into this activation process that we're receiving throughout 2020. And so this whole cycle. And so we are at the stage right now, and I go into more depth, like I said in the video, on it, but we're in that stage of grounding in these activations, right? And so we're grounding in these activations, and what Pluto is doing and facilitating during this retrograde cycle, especially after the second conjunction with Jupiter, is Pluto is clearing away and showing us everything that is not in line with where our soul is trying to go. We received these activations, and now we are in this whole other energy, right? We are being transformed. Our ideals, our beliefs, our sort of conceptualization of ourselves and who we are, our purpose, our life purpose has been activated. And all of these things have been changed and forever altered. And so we're going through this massive transformation process. And so Pluto's role, we have Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn all playing roles in this process. And Pluto's role is to show us all of that deep, dark stuff in the depths of our soul, in the depths of our consciousness that's holding us back so that we can release it. And it's showing us what resonates and what doesn't resonate with our souls. It's showing us the deep longings within our souls. And it's helping us to transform and transmute everything that's not in accordance with where we're going. And so it is this death and rebirth process that's happening right now. Like a part of us during this retrograde is dying. And so it's just whether we allow it to die or whether we try to hold on to it. And that's going to determine just how traumatic this process is going to be for us. It's just the level that we're able to surrender to what is. And when I mean surrender to what is, I mean to surrender to what is true for us. So, yeah, I think that's all as far as the notes go. I think that's really all we need to know for dates. And yeah, so I apologize for getting this video out a few days after, but I mean, like I said, Pluto won't be arriving back at 24 degrees of Capricorn until January. So we got plenty of time, and it's going to be moving to retrograde until October 3rd. So, just allow yourself to sink into this energy, sink into the unknown, sink into those unexplored parts of yourselves, and just allow whatever is in there to unfold. Allow it to speak to you. Allow your soul to show you the things that it wants you to know. And, just embrace it. that's all I can say is just embrace it. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to pull some cards, and we're going to go with some tarot today. We haven't done the tarot before, or I haven't done the tarot before in any of these videos. Kayla's pulled the tarot out a couple times in a couple of our videos, but I'm just feeling like today we're gonna see what these cards have to say. Clear. So tell us a little bit about this Pluto retrograde and what it's going to be revealing to us. What are we going to be experiencing during this Pluto retrograde? What are we going to be experiencing during this Pluto retrograde? I'm not reading reversals, universe, just so you know. Okay. Yep. What are we going to be experiencing? This stayed on the bottom of the deck. Okay. Yes. So we have judgment. So this is all about being called to action. This is about final decisions. This is about choice points. This is the calling of our soul, right? You see with the trumpet, our soul is calling. It's calling us to action. It's these lower repressed parts of ourselves being given voice, and sort of the judgments and the decisions that come as a result of that, right? And just sort of the justice that must be had, the justice for these unheard and unacknowledged parts of ourselves. We have the Two of Wands. So we have the Two of Wands, and then we have, what is this? The Five of Cups. So, and then we have death. We have the Devil. So, which these two cards are absolutely perfect, right? So it's like waiting. We're waiting. We have this world that we've created here, right? We have this world. It's like I see this ball as all of these desires and these plans, right? All of these desires and these plans, and sort of these desires and these plans. And I also see it as this is the crystal ball, right? This is the ball. This is the internal parts of ourselves that we're reviewing and we're looking at, and we have this world that we've created, and now we're in this place where we're feeling sort of we're feeling down, and we're feeling depressed, and we're feeling cheated because things aren't necessarily lining up the way that we expected them to. It's like we're looking out and we're waiting for something that we thought was going to come. We're waiting for this creation and this manifestation of these plans that we put in motion, right? It's this desire of control, and we're starting to feel as though those things aren't going to come, and things aren't working out quite the way that we thought that they would. We've done all the right things and we've taken all the right actions, but somehow things just haven't quite worked out, and we're in this place of being lost, and this place of questioning, and this place of just feeling disheartened, right? And so what we're going through is this death process, right? This rebirthing process. This is the card for Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto. And it's this whole process of the dying of the different parts of ourselves, like we talked about, right? It's like the dying of these old dreams, this world that we thought we had created for ourselves that isn't quite working out. And yeah, just experiencing what that feels like. And it's a heavy energy. It's sort of like these events and these experiences are riding in on this horse, right? And we're just kind of feeling like we're being trampled underneath its feet. And so, we thought we had all this stuff figured out, and now all of a sudden it's kind of turning on its head, right? And we're being faced with our shadow aspects. We're being faced with those addictions, with those compulsions, with those aspects of ourselves that we thought we had left behind, right? That we thought no longer existed within us, and we're being faced with the reality and the consequences of some of those actions now. And we're being given this opportunity to rise up from that and to leave all of that behind in search of something better, in search of calmer waters, in search of this new cycle of abundance and creation that's waiting for us. And so that is what's happening at the end of all of this. But first we have to, it's like the call to action that results after this process of letting go. This is that process of, all the things that we thought that we needed, right? The things that we thought that we needed to survive. And those things being taken away and being in this place. And then allowing ourselves to go through this death and rebirthing process, this sort of revisiting of all of these aspects of ourselves that are ready to die, and releasing everything that holds us in bondage, right? The Devil card is about bondage. It's about the things that keep us enslaved. It's about not just addictions to substances and addictions to people, but addictions to ways of thinking, addictions to ways of being. So we're being confronted with all of that darker stuff, right? And we're being given the opportunity to move away from that and into a more abundant future. And so, that's the process of, as a result of everything that happens during this Pluto and retrograde season, we're going to be called to action. Once Pluto goes direct, as we move through the rest of that cycle, that we're going to be given opportunities to act on the wisdom that we've gained, on the things that we've learned about ourselves throughout this process. Yeah. And so we have the High Priestess, right? So the High Priestess is the keeper of the secrets. She holds all of the knowledge and all of the secrets, and she reveals what's meant to be revealed when it's meant to be revealed. And so anytime that there's a lot of mysterious energy at play, we have the High Priestess energy to thank for that. And she knows she's the keeper of the Akashic records. People have all different types of meanings for this book, right, that she holds here. But that's what I'm feeling from that card right now she's the keeper of the Akashic records. The Akashic records hold the entire history, everything that was, everything that ever will be. It's all recorded in there, right? And so it's like an energetic library that can be tapped into sometimes. And so she holds all of that information, and she distributes and reveals to us what is meant to be revealed as it's meant to be revealed. And that's what's going to be happening during this Pluto retrograde, is things are going to be revealed to us as we're ready to see them. And so we have the Knight of Cups. So the Knight of Cups is it's an energy. This card can often be seen as like an apology or somebody offering something. Offering of emotions. That's what I'm feeling like this right now. The offering of emotions. And so somebody is offering their emotional truth. And this could be just you offering your emotional truth to yourself. Or it could be offering this emotional truth to somebody else who means something to you. Somebody that you care about. Somebody who deserves to know what it is that you feel. Somebody that you want to know how it is that you feel. So through this process, as these things are revealed by the high priestess, we may then in turn be revealing those things or having those things revealed to us by other people. And so the moon keeps coming up on the bottom of the deck as well, which is also all about mystery. It's all about illusion. It's all about the things that are hidden, right? And so that's the energy that we're moving into, is we're feeling, we're coming to understand the things that have been hidden. And yeah. And here we go again. 8 of Cups. Walking away from all that doesn't fulfill us. As a result of this cycle, that's what's going to be happening for a lot of people, is there are going to be changes that are going to be happening, because we are no longer going to be able to, the truth about the things that we feel and the things that we need will be revealed to us, and we will be unable, we won't, like we said, Pluto is a planet of integrity, right? Like, we'll be living in our integrity, and everything that's not in line with our integrity is going to have to go. And that is going to cause some heartbreak, it's inevitable. That's part of how we grow, right? Like, we experience that pain sometimes, and that pain is necessary for our growth. And I think that, there are very few things. And Pluto's all about those things that cause us the most intense feeling, right? So it's, it's death, it's love, it's, sex, it's, power, instances where our power has been taken away, instances, our desire for power over others, our desire for power over our lives, the struggles that ensue around that. It's like these things that cause us the deepest feeling are the things that come up, and the things that we have to examine, and the things that Pluto brings to light. And let's get a couple of these too. Clear. Any guidance for the Pluto retrograde? Guidance for Pluto retrograde. Guidance for Pluto retrograde. Okay. So, it's funny, when I was pre-shuffling these cards earlier, this kept coming out. So, the answers you need are coming, full moon in Gemini. So, yeah. The answers to all of your questions are coming. And so it's allowing those through this process of Pluto retrograde, right? Like the answers, anything that we've been asking about, if there is a truth that we've been hoping would be revealed, it will be revealed, especially if it's a truth about ourselves, if it's a truth about the way that we think, about the way that we feel. That will absolutely be revealed to us. Others' intentions as well will probably be revealed to us during this time. And we'll know what to do, and we'll know how to act throughout this process as we come out of that. And it's going to involve stepping out of our comfort zone. Like the comfort zone, we had a whole video about this when we talked about the new moon in Taurus, right? It's this push-pull that we're feeling right now between the familiar and the new. And just how, if we want to experience all the possibility that life has to offer, we have to be willing to step out of our comfort zone. And so that's an energy that we're really being called to do that. And we're also being called, says, don't let pride get in your way. And so this is, a lot of us get held back by our pride, right? By the pride and the ego, and we want to be perceived a certain way, and we don't want to give up. We don't want to give up our power, right? It's this constant struggle as humans that we have of this need to have power over things, to have power over our own lives, to have power over others, right? And we want people to perceive us a certain way. We want things to go a certain way. And we don't want to look bad, right? But sometimes, like, does it really matter how we look to other people? If we go through this process and we're able to stand in our own integrity, then it doesn't matter what other people say. Like, that won't matter to us anymore, because it's not about them. Like, I know who I am. And it doesn't matter what your perception of who I am is, because I know who I am. And I stand strong in that, and I stand proud, but not in a negative way. I stand confident, right? I stand confident in that. And nothing can shake my confidence in myself. You know, like, if somebody misperceives or misunderstands a situation and judges me as a result of that, that's not my problem. I don't have to get caught up in that, because that doesn't matter. All that matters at the end of the day is how I view myself and how I know myself. And I know the choices that I've made, and I can stand behind those. And then we have expect powerful change, new moon eclipse. So, I mean, there's no way we can come out of a Pluto cycle without being changed. You know, that is Pluto's whole aim, is to transform us, is to get us to the next stage of our evolution. And so, of course, that card would come out, because it's inevitable. We are going to shift, and we are going to change, and we are going to become more empowered versions of ourselves. And then we have surrender to the divine, full moon, which is just what we talked about, right? That process of surrendering, that process of letting go, that process of just allowing things to be and allowing things to not be, to not try to control the things beyond our control, right? It's like realizing our true power is sometimes realizing the areas where we don't have all the power, and like just acknowledging that that's okay. You know, we can't control everything and everyone. All we can do is control ourselves and our own choices and our own actions. And so, yeah, I think that's really good energy moving forward. That's you know, solid advice as we're going through on this journey. Any last cards? Whoa. Let's see. We have a personal issue reaches resolution. A new start is coming. And it's time to release negativity. Yeah. So release all of that devil card stuff, right? All of that stuff that holds us down, all of that stuff that holds us back, all of that stuff that's no longer useful. It's time to let that shit go, and to allow things to resolve that are ready to resolve as we move into this new start, right? Like, these cards together are beautiful. Like, look at that, you know, it's just so much is being illuminated. But in that process of illumination, first, right, everything turns dark. And you can see the light behind here, right? But we don't see, but in the moment, we're in the womb right now, right? We're in that period of darkness. That's what the retrograde is. It's that period of darkness where everything's growing and coalescing, and we're just absorbing, and we're like a sponge, right? And like, what's being absorbed is all of that negativity, all of those behaviors that are holding us back, all of those situations, all of that stuff, right? That gross stuff that we don't want to look at, but it's all being pulled up to the surface so that it can be released. And it's that process of allowing it to release, of not holding on to it. You know, a lot of our cycles are going to be shown, like our obsessive thought patterns are going to be very apparent. If those manifest in obsessive and compulsive actions, that's going to be very apparent. And we're going to be given the choice, like, do I want to continue this, or do I want to release that and try something new, right? Allow this new start to happen. And so, yeah, just allowing that process. And just viewing that process sort of from a detached standpoint, right? And so, okay, this card kept coming out. So I don't know if there's somebody that was asking about something. It's nothing will come of this situation. I noticed this card earlier, and it's coming out again. So if there's some sort of situation that you've been sort of pondering and trying to figure out, like, what to do about it, or how to turn it to your advantage, or, you know, putting effort into something, maybe that card is for you. I don't know. I felt like I had to float that out there. And then what do you need to release? So it's just interesting. Who knows? Maybe that was a message from me, because I've seen that card a couple times shuffling. But, who knows? It's all a mystery, right? And so we're going to pull a card from this deck as well. Pluto retrograde. Advice for Pluto retrograde. Energies that we're working through. Cycles that we're working through. Pluto retrograde. Pluto retrograde. Okay. The staff. The council. And that makes me think immediately of the Council of Light. The sort of the planetary councils, right, that are aiding us in this ascension journey. The holy mountain, the pilgrimage, the quest that we're on right now, the corn, the harvest, and the upper world, which is like the spiritual realms, right? And all of the information that is available. And then on the bottom of the deck, we had the Time Master. The Time Master and the Jaguar, which is all about the shadow work, right? And so we're not going to read too deeply into all of these, but we are just going to take a quick look here. The staff is a symbol of authority. It holds the power to temper extremes. The staff helps you find the right course of action, the way of the middle, and aids you to maintain your balance after you begin walking in that direction. Moses carried a serpent staff through the desert, and with it he could summon the power of nature to heal or call plagues. The staff reminds you of the impermanence of all things, and that your authority must come from your deep longing to serve. So this is especially relevant when we're talking about power, right? So Pluto is teaching us how to wield our power wisely and with integrity, how to find our inner power, our inner authority, and then how to utilize that in a way that is beneficial to all, right? Power is not a bad thing. It's all in how you use it. And so that's a main message that I'm getting from this, and the impermanence of all things. Like, we definitely see that as Pluto burns through everything that's no longer relevant and, really takes out the trash, in a manner of speaking. Trust your inner wisdom and take the first step on a journey that your heart has already embarked on. Use the power of the staff to unite what appears to be divided, to find that delicate balance between will and surrender, just as we were talking about. The balance between will and surrender, and taking action. Like, your heart already knows what to do. And then we have the council, which is number 11. I like that. Number 11. And it makes me think of all the beings that are watching over us and sort of leading us on this journey, on this ascension journey. The council are the luminous beings who hold the collective wisdom of humanity, which is also sort of what we were talking about with the Akashic records, right? They are the ones before whom you will do your life review when you cross into the world of spirit. Know that their wisdom is available to you at all times when you live in a state of yes, in an unconditional relationship with life. They remind you of your place around a sacred fire, which has been reserved for you since the beginning of time. You will claim it when you own your inner wisdom, which is what this whole Pluto retrograde is about, right? It's connecting us with our inner wisdom. The council has a message for you. Listen with your inner senses. The handwriting is already in the wall, so look about you and you will discern its meaning. Do not wait for further signs. Embark on the journey to love deeply, forgive sincerely, and dare greatly. Take the leap without requiring life to assure you of success. So, like, we don't get to know all the answers, right? It's like we're talking about the mysteries of life. That's our need to control, right? Is to wait, to act, until we have all the answers and we understand exactly how everything's going to unfold. But we're never going to know that. We're not meant to know that. So we have 2 cards about taking that leap and, listening to your inner guidance and knowing that your inner guidance is going to serve you and is speaking to you. And claiming your power, claiming your wisdom, taking that leap, like it said with the other cards, stepping out of the comfort zone, knowing that you are being supported and knowing that, it's taking that leap, but with integrity. And trusting, having faith that what you don't know for a reason, and not waiting until everything's clear, because it's never going to be that way. Nothing is ever guaranteed. That's part of the gamble of life, right? Yep. The Holy Mountain invites you to go on a sacred pilgrimage to acquire vision and perspective. First, you must accept the present situation as an opportunity to discover higher understanding. So this is really important when we're talking about Pluto. When we're talking about anything, right, we always talk about how everything's an opportunity to embark on a deeper level of understanding, right? There's always a gift. There's always a lesson in everything. And so that's really, really important to understand and to know right now, and to just be willing to learn those lessons and to be open to what it is that they're trying to teach, to look at everything from that higher perspective, to look at everything that's being shown to us from that higher perspective. Find a sacred altar where others who came before you have prayed and found wisdom, and make your offering there. Make a commitment to walk with courage, love, and compassion. I think that's the second time that's come up. Courage, love, and compassion, until you see with clarity the perfection of all. So everything is already perfect and everything is already unfolding exactly as it's meant to unfold. And we already have all the answers we're going to get. Or by the time this Pluto retrograde is over, especially in conjunction with all the other retrogrades, we have Saturn, we have Venus, we have Jupiter, and then at the end of the year, we have Mars going retrograde too. So between all of that all these internal pilgrimages that we're going on, we will have all the answers that we need to act. And if we don't act after all of that, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be possible not to. I don't think it's going to be possible to be able to hold ourselves back. Yep. This card is about abundance. Like I said, it's about the harvest, right? It's about the fruits of our labors. So this is just a card that represents good fortune and good luck. And so the fruits of our labors, when we allow ourselves to follow our hearts, when we allow ourselves to surrender to this internal journey that we're going on during this Pluto retrograde, when we allow ourselves to look at all these darker aspects of ourselves with love, when we transform, when we move beyond our past limitations, when we move in the way of the true desires of our souls, and there's the harvest and the fruits of our labors will be as we move through this sacred internal pilgrimage. Its abundance is assured, blessings are assured. And also assured is our connection that we build to the upper world. So the Pluto is about the lower world, right? And it's about all of the treasures that we find when we're willing to traverse that inner landscape, right? And then the upper world is our connection to the divine and how that is strengthened through this process. Our connection to our own divinity is strengthened, right? When we can look at both our light and our darkness and love all of it, then we become, that's how we connect fully to our power and connect fully to our divinity, right? And so the time master, being the master of space and time, being the master of our own time, learning how to use time to our advantage. That's a main energy that I'm feeling from that, is where, in this ascension process, we're moving outside of these confines of time. We're noticing how, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but time seems to be moving in strange ways. And it feels like sometimes we've done way more, or we fit way more into a time frame, than we could have before. It's like time is moving faster, but it's just moving differently. And we're seeing how fluid it is and how we can move back and forth between it. And just how nothing, linear time is really becoming an illusion. And so, yeah, will you break free from the limited cause and effect thinking by moving beyond the linear illusion and welcoming the cyclic quality of time? You find yourself in a moment where the wheel of time turns and you're able to influence the past, thus changing the present and future simultaneously. This is the true test of the time master. You're being invited to take back your power, so let go of the past and choose to step into your life. In this moment, you are all powerful. Anything is possible now. So this is also our ability to shift between timelines. This is our ability to affect change, to go back and alter, or not alter situations, but to choose the path that is most beneficial for us, and to know that we have complete control over, just because something happened one way and there were certain results doesn't mean that we can't move between those timelines and choose a timeline that gets us to a desired result, right? As long as that result is in accordance with our higher will. And so it's also the Jaguar, that process of delving deep into those shadows and uncovering what lies within there. And so that's this whole process that we're in right now, is that process of shadow work. Yeah. And this is also about pushing limits and boundaries, an invitation from your own future to investigate the unknown, to venture into the mystery and the dark places you have been reluctant to explore. Toss all caution to the wind. Know that Jaguar instinct will serve you well. Yeah. So it's, Jaguar knows the ways beyond death and is the master of the shadows, blending invisibly between light and dark, night and day. So it's this process, right? When we're able to move into those darker layers of ourselves, right? When we're able to move, once we've faced everything that lies within our darkness, we're then able to move fluidly between our light and our dark. We're able to unify them into one, right? And so neither world is unknown to us. All of our potential is known to us because we can draw from both aspects of ourselves. And so the Jaguar teaches us how to do that. And it teaches us how to do that by allowing us to go into that subconscious realm, into that Plutonian realm, and to come out with the treasures. And then we have the ghost dance. Here we go. 22. I want to end with this one for some reason. So, the ghost dance of the Amazon Plains Indians united the spirits of the living with those of the ancestors to bring peace to the world. When the ancestors are honored, they bring harmony to us. When we hold them responsible for all that is wrong with us today, they haunt us. Honor the spirits of the ancestors and receive their lessons and gifts. This includes honoring your own past lives. For some of you during this Pluto retrograde, there may be past life issues that come to a head. We may start being able to identify and understand how some of our obsessions and compulsions and some of our fears actually stem from past life stuff, and we may be able to start integrating those into our current life. And then by doing that, sort of integrating the power that lies within that, right? And the gifts that lie within that. We're unlocking these buried gifts and potentials as well during this time. The ancestors have a message of healing and a powerful medicine to offer you. Create a sacred moment at your altar, light a candle to them, and let their wisdom infuse you. At this stage in your life, you are done repeating their tragic stories. Step into the abundance that is offered to you. Receive the gifts of those that have come before you and write a new story for your life. So this is also about healing our ancestral lineage. So during this Pluto retrograde, we're going to have an opportunity to do that as well. We're going to have an opportunity to do shadow work for the collective, shadow work for our ancestors, the work that we do on ourselves, and the demons that we're able to face within ourselves and our own lives are going to set our ancestors free as well. And we're in this process right now where we're able to sort of end like we incarnate into the ancestral line that we do sometimes to clear that karma and to clear that baggage and to clear these cycles, right? It's like sometimes when we look at the experiences that have been the experiences of our ancestors, of the people in our lineage, and we look at the traumas that we've gone through, we look at some of the ways that they live their lives, and if those ways don't resonate with us, then what that means is that we were put there and we are being given the opportunity to clear that energy for them, to do something new, to break out of that mold, to not live life the way that it's always been lived by our ancestors and by our lineage and by the culture that we were incarnated into, but to actually change that storyline and to break those cycles. And so that's a really beautiful thing, and that's something that we're being called to do during this time as well. So I really like that, and I really think that that's a good place to leave this. It's just all about just embracing the dark side, right? Embracing that side of ourselves that doesn't often get to see the light, right? And just shining the light and shining the love in there, and just being open to whatever is shown to us during this time and whatever is revealed, and just being ready and willing to take the action that we know we need to take as a result of that. As Pluto moves direct October 3rd and starts that process of, coming out of the retrograde energy, and we're in that we have that opportunity to take risks and to take action on the things that we've learned. Like it'll be important to do that, but right now it's just like just sinking into the energy and just looking at everything from the position of the witness, of the detached observer. Trying, Pluto, one of the greatest gifts that Pluto gives us is the gift of detachment, and the lesson that's where true power lies. It's in that detached sort of state of, not being overly invested in anything, just being able to see everything from that subjective sort of point of view, right? And so it's a long journey, because Pluto brings up our most intense and raw emotions. So moving from that and learning how to use that to teach us the things that we need to learn, and then as we move through that energy, coming to that place of neutrality from which we then act. And we know that we act from that place of neutrality with integrity, because we're not acting from a place of emotion or a place of trauma or a place of pain. We're acting from that place of calm, that calm center that we find in that neutrality. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Good luck with this Pluto retrograde. Just buckle your seatbelts. 2020 has been a wild ride and will continue to be so. And this focused more on what our individual experience will be. But like I said, there's going to be a collective experience with this as well. It's just happening on so many levels. And it's such a fascinating process. And, just sink into the mystery of it. Just allow Pluto to guide you to those places in yourself that you were afraid to go. And, just be intrigued with what you find there. And just know that everything that we experience, like all of this shadow material, right? It's just a different aspect of ourselves. It's not good or bad. That place of neutrality also means like that place of non-judgment, right? Like we are seeing, it's not judging ourselves for the stuff that lurks in the shadows, right? And or for the fact that we felt the need to suppress or repress these parts of ourselves to begin with. It's just allowing them to be and allowing them to exist, and knowing that a lot of it is the product of our own trauma. And that's not our faults, and that's not anything to be ashamed of. And some of it is the product of ancestral trauma and stuff that doesn't even really have anything to do with us. And yeah, it's just not judging ourselves, being, as we always say, being compassionate and being loving with ourselves, and just knowing that this is part of the journey of self-discovery, and it's exciting and it's beautiful stuff if we allow it to be. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more videos, hit the subscribe button. And yes, if you're interested in a reading or if you're interested in a healing, please reach out to me. All of the information is in the description box below. Please reach out to Kayla as well. She does amazing readings, and yeah, just continue to stick with us through this process as we all grow and we all explore these different hidden aspects of ourselves together. As always, I love you, and I will talk to you all soon.